Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to show you how you can implement Google Analytics for e-commerce tracking for your Shopify store using Google Tag Manager. I'm going to show you each and every step from scratch, starting with the setup within your Google Tag Manager, and then how you can implement the necessary codes into the back end of your website, and then we will go ahead and verify how the tracking works after processing a test order and testing the debug mode to see if the tracking we have implemented within our GTM account actually works. So without further ado, let's get started. So I assume you have a Shopify store and you have implemented Google Tag Manager within your Shopify store, and I'm not going to cover that part because it's going to be very lengthy if I try to cover each and everything from scratch, including implementing your Google Tag Manager. So I'm just going to focus on implementing Google Analytics for e-commerce tracking within your Tag Manager. So first of all, we need to set up custom variables. All right, we need to set up custom data layer variables within the Tag Manager. This is the data layer that you need to implement in the checkout section of your website. You don't need to make any changes to this code. You just have to copy this. I will put a link in the description where you can find this data layer, and you straight have to copy this and go to your Shopify store, and within your Shopify you need to go to the checkout section, and over here you need to paste the data layer codes and save it. All right, now that's all the information we need in this section for us to pass those parameters over to Google Tag Manager, and via Google Tag Manager we can track the transactions and pass the values over to our Google Analytics account. So that part being done, what we are going to have to do now is we are going to have to let me delete all of them and start everything from scratch. And we are going to have to define now custom data layer values, right? So we are interested to track these values. All right, the transaction value, the currency, the transaction ID, maybe the taxes. So most important of these parameters, I think you should consider tracking is the transaction ID, the value, and the currency. With the rest of them, if you want to track them, you can follow the same process and implement them. But if you want to leave them, that's not a problem. That's not very necessary. For example, even if you leave the page type as purchase, it's not gonna make much difference, right? Or maybe the payment type, if you want to know if the payment type, whether they are using credit card, debit card, or they are using cash on delivery mode, PayPal, whatever option the customer is using. If you want to track them, you're going to have to create data layers for each individual parameter in this section. So let's say we are going to create a custom variable for our currency. First of all, starting off with the currency, we are going to have to go to our variable section, and then here click on new, and give this variable a name. So it's gonna be, let's say, DLV, and the the variable's name is gonna be currency. And now we have to select the data layer variables, and over here we need to define this currency in the silo structure that we have within our Shopify, right? So for example, this is the event, the purchase event, and under this event what we want to track as part of the e-commerce tracking are these different parameters, variables, right? So we see we have e-commerce, and then within e-commerce we have these parameters that we want to track. This is in a silo structure, and we have to follow the same structure when we set up our data layer variable within our GTM account. So it's e-commerce dot currency, right? So we have set up the first one, and we are going to have to set up the second one now, and that is going to be let's say we want to track this parameter. So again, give it a name, DLV, data layer variable, and the e-commerce dot value. Okay, now we have set up this second variable. Now finally we want to track the transaction ID as well, following the same process. Give it a name, DLV transaction ID, data layer variable, e-commerce, and transaction ID. That's it. Now we are done with our variables. It is time for us to create a trigger now, right? And the trigger, for the trigger we are going to use custom trigger, GA for e-commerce event. Alright, that's our trigger name, and we are going to choose custom option here. Where's the custom event? And the event name has to be the same as defined in here, right? If you are giving it a different name in here, the event name within your GTM has to reflect the same value. So we are going to give it the same name and choose this option, save. Alright, now it's time for us to create our text. So for the text, we are going to have to create two types of Google Analytics tags. The first one is going to be the global tag that's going to track all the traffic or the click events or the page view events that are happening on your website. So that is a general tag to track the traffic, the engagement, and all those sort of metrics. And then there's another tag that's going to be specifically set up for e-commerce events, right? So let's go ahead and choose tag configuration. Maybe give it a name, GA for global tech. And we're gonna have to choose universal analytics and this one, right? Google Analytics GA4 configurations. And here we have to go to our analytics account now. Go to admin. You have to set up the GA4 analytics account first. If you're not sure how to set it up, maybe I will cover it in the next video, but in this section I assume you have already set up one. So you just have to copy this measurement ID from your analytics, and that can be found. Go to settings, go to data streams, and here is your measurement ID. Copy it, go back to your tag manager, paste it, and for the trigger, select all pages, save it. That's it. Alright, this tag is set up. Now we're gonna have to set up another tag, and that's gonna be the event tag, right? E-commerce event tag, GA4 e-commerce event tag event. All right, now here we have to, for the configuration tag in this section, we have to choose, we have to select the global tag we have just set up. All right, and for the event, we have to choose the event as variable, right? The variable name, because we have already defined it, the event as purchase in our trigger section, so we are gonna have to choose the same. All right, by just clicking on this plus sign over here, this custom event, choose it, and then you have to set up the parameters for your global analytics for event tag. So the parameters are going to be they are going to be the parameters name, and then the value that we have defined, we have just defined within our custom data layer variables, right? So so we just have to define the values, set up the names, and for the names, you know, the documentation is available. We just have to use the same values, transaction value, choose value, and for the value we have already set up our custom variable, so we are going to have to choose that from here. All right, and then we are interested to track, for example, the transaction ID, right? There was another variable that we set up, so we are going to have to choose this one as well, transaction ID. And then lastly, let's see, transaction ID and the currency, right? So for the currency, since it's not a variable, it's going to remain the same every time a transaction is processed. It's not like a product price, which, you know, keeps changing depending on the transaction amount and the product on the side. The currency is going to remain the same. The currency denominator is going to remain the same. So if it's let's say USD, we just have to put USD, or in other cases, you know, you can just put the currency denominator here. So if it's euro, you just have to put that denominator, or if it's any other currency, use that. So in this case, it's gonna be I don't think it's USD, it's, I think, PKR for this store. Let me check. It's just, you know, for test purposes, this store has been set up, so we're just going to have to see. Yeah, so it's PKR, and that's it. We are pretty much done with the process. Now, as a final step of the process, we are going to choose a trigger for our Google Analytics for event tag. So the trigger is going to be the one we had just set up, right? So now everything is set. We have to save it and test if everything has been set up correctly and everything is working fine. So let's refresh this page for debugging purposes, and let's go to the preview mode and the store's URL, connect it. Let's process a transaction. Test it. Okay, we can put in anything that we see. DEF test optional, let's say 1 2 3. Go ahead, save it. See. And since the test mode is on within our Shopify store, so we are seeing this bogus transaction option here, and we are going to choose cash on delivery and complete our order. Now it has been successfully processed. Let's go back to our GTM and see if the tags have fired. Yeah, so the tags, as you can see, are working. They fired both the Google Analytics global tag as well as the event tag. Now if we check our purchase event, we can see here this event, purchase event. We click on it, and since this purchase event is associated with our e-commerce event tag, and now if we click on the event, we can see the event parameters are being passed. So it's working fine. And if we further want to check by going to the data layer section and see if the values are being passed to their variables that we have just defined within GTM, we can see that the page type is purchase, the currency is this, and the value is the value of the transaction that we just processed here. It's working fine. The shipping, for the shipping we don't have any, the shipping is free, so no value is being assigned to the shipping. And if, by the same token, for the taxes, we don't have any taxes here, so it's shown 00. The payment type was cash on delivery. We got that bit of information as well. And lastly, the transaction ID is showing here, right? So everything is working fine as far as the variables within our GTM is concerned. Now let's jump on to the analytics section, the real-time transaction section of the analytics account, and see if we got this event. It should show here. It's gonna take a bit of time, in some cases half a minute or so, but let's see. Yeah, so we got no conversions so far. Oh, there's some strange event happening here. We got purchase 2 times, and so we, it's working fine. So this is a little weird. The name of the event that's shown here is purchase, but if we go check the event name that we have placed here, it's purchase, right? But I don't know, for some weird reason it's showing purchase, but that's not a bigger problem. We can look into that and fix it. But basically, it's working fine. So we had this one transaction that we processed on our website, and we can see that this transaction values, the amount, the currency, and all the rest of the variables are showing here. So if we click on any one of them, we can see the details associated with these parameters as well. So for example, the value, as we can see, the transaction value is showing here. Now it's not going to be part of our regular report. It's gonna take some time, maybe 24 hours in some cases, 24 to 30 hours. So we have to wait for it to show in the report section, but we can see in the real-time data section that the transaction was successfully reported and everything is working fine. So that's it for today's video. I hope it was helpful. If you have any problem as far as your Shopify tracking is concerned, you can leave a comment and I will try to respond to your specific query and help you fix those problems. Other than that, I think it's pretty clear. You just have to copy the data layer, paste it within your Shopify, and then follow the steps that I just showed you within your Google Tag Manager. All right, thank you so much for your time, and if you haven't, please subscribe to this channel so that you will be able to see further videos related to Google Ads, tracking, analytics, and digital marketing generally speaking. I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye.